Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well and welcome to another video. It's Monday morning in a somewhat dull but mild and it's not raining here in Northern England. The Summer Wells case has just become an absolute shit show, to put it bluntly. So many people just seem to have been on the crazy sauce lately. You know, the things I'm seeing between creators is horrendous. It's horrible, right? You know, everybody wants to know what happened to Summer. Everybody wants Summer found, Summer returned home, whether that's alive or whether that's unfortunately not alive, but she's able to be put to rest in the respectful way that she deserves. Everybody wants the same thing. Now, I know that tensions are running high and people have what they feel now are vested interests in the outcome of this. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm not just talking about the money that creators make from making YouTube videos. I'm talking about, I guess, the element of I was right. You know, there's that kind of vested interest now, especially from people who've held a certain theory for a long time and have invested a lot of time into developing that theory and providing what they believe is evidence for that theory. And I understand that, I do. But look guys, none of us are law enforcement. None of us know what's actually going on and what evidence law enforcement actually have in this case. We have very few facts, despite the fact that we've had quite a few people now who have sometimes somewhat tenuous links to the case come out and speak to various YouTubers. And I think that's good in a way, and it's something that I expected, that more and more people will come out and be prepared to be interviewed and give their two penneth and whatever. But I also think it's a bad thing because it's feeding into more theories that have no weight to them, in my opinion. And of course, I'm going to preface everything I say as this is my opinion. I don't know what happened to Summer. I'm theorising just as everybody else is theorising. I look at things in a logical manner. And if I'm developing a theory, I come at everything, all cases, with a presumption of innocence. Now, we know something happened to Summer, and it's highly likely that that's a human that's responsible for what happened to Summer. Yes, there's always the possibility of an animal attack, but I think some evidence of that would have been found. There's always the possibility that she wandered away a little too far and an accident befell her. And literally no one human is directly involved in that. There's always that possibility, but again, I think some evidence of that would have been found by now, given the extensive searches that have gone on. So it's highly likely that there's someone, a human being or human beings, that are responsible for what happened to Summer. So someone's going to be right. But I start with a presumption of innocence. Everybody's innocent until they're proven guilty in a court of law. And I can't say otherwise. I can't call someone guilty. I can say, in my opinion, they are, just like everybody else. I don't know any more than anybody else. However, I've had several theories that have been my number one theory. over the last 7 months. I started off with that she was abducted. It's possible she was abducted. Having been in this case for 7 months now, I don't think it's possible, or it's highly unlikely that it happened in the way that Don and Candice said. I don't believe that Candice was, inattentive for just 2 minutes while she was placing Grandma's knee brace. I don't believe that Summer was abducted from the basement. I don't believe Summer was abducted from around the swing area. I don't believe anybody came up onto the property. Can I prove that? No. But it's highly unlikely, given the nature of the property, given the risks involved in carrying out that kind of abduction. So for you guys who are saying abduction is impossible, I believe you. I believe you. But I do think it's possible if Summer wandered just a little way away. These are prickly. I'm easing my way through. I do believe it's possible that Summer wandered a little bit away and then she was abducted. And that then leads on to, well, why is Candice lying? Why would she lie? I don't even know why I came this way. Stupid. I just fancied it. But I understand people who think, well, if Summer went out to play, why lie, Candice? Why lie? And yeah, why lie? I can't get over that. Yeah, absolutely. I can't get through there. I say again, why did I come this way? I'm just a big kid. I just like doing these things. No need to lie, is there? So it makes her look guilty. And I acknowledge that. I do. You kind of think there's got to be more to it than just your kid going out and then you having to lie about the time, and it just makes no sense. And I agree with you, it makes no sense. Then for the longest time, I went along with she was sold. Either she was sold permanently by Don, Candice or Grandma or all three of them, or a temporary transaction went wrong. And I've got numerous videos explaining the rationale for that kind of thought process, for that theory. And that's still my number two. That's still my number two theory. I can't discount all of that information that I developed back then. I can't discount it. But I don't favour it now. But one person that has come up in the last few days is Jose. Jose Roman. If you're brand new to the Summer Wells case, then it might be a new name for you. So let me explain who Jose is and why people think he's important in this case, and why I believe that he absolutely isn't. Because I looked into him in the very early days when I was favouring the abduction hypothesis. And I looked at him again when I was developing the she was sold into trafficking hypothesis. Never done a video about him because I don't believe he's involved in any way, shape or form. But his name has come up. So Jose was a friend of Ali. Well, actually, he was a friend of Ali's ex, Hunter's dad. So Hunter's dad has come out and given an interview now. And I believe he's got his own YouTube channel. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to check it out. Why has he come onto the scene, right? But, yeah, friend of Hunter's dad. Now, and they come from New York. Gloversville, New York, I believe. Now, in October 2020, Andrew, Hunter's dad, Jose, and a collection of other people came down to Tennessee. Now, Hunter's dad and I think he's married, his current wife, they have children, and he thought Tennessee schools were better than the ones where he lived, and he was looking to relocate. But they couldn't get hotels, and there's all this, I don't know, somewhat vague explanation as to why they only stayed a day and then they left. Except Jose. Now, this is why Ali and Candice fell out, right? They were close friends. They were as close as sisters, you know, and their kids used to get on really well and play together. And that's why Hunter now thinks of Summer as his little sister, and why he's broken-hearted that she's disappeared. But yeah, Jose stayed, and Ali, I don't know whether she believes she was in a relationship with him or what, but Candice also took a liking to him. Now, according to Hunter's dad, Don, who'd been in Utah for 3 or 4 months. Whoa, you got stuck on a tree then. Who'd been in Utah for 3 or 4 months working, who'd taken the eldest son with him. Arrived home, Candice was trying to make him jealous. He arrived home and allegedly caught Candice and Jose in a, I don't know, compromising position. This is all according to Hunter's dad. What happened next is documented. There's a police report, there's a short report in Candice's own handwriting, and there's a 911 call from Candice. And they got into a fight. Candice called the cops. Don was arrested. He was fighting with Jose. He was fighting with Candice. But then, a while later, the charges were dismissed after Candice apologised and spoke to the judge. And a few days after Summer disappeared, Don went on camera to the press and said that Candice is sorry for doing that. But Jose, allegedly, was the trigger point for that violent episode and Don's arrest. He was the catalyst. Now, I think Candice was trying to make Don jealous, so maybe Jose is just kind of the guy that's stuck in the middle. And Don wanted him out. And allegedly, Grandma also had her size on Jose. Allegedly. But she took him out of the situation and took him to someone's house over the border in North Carolina. And this was October 2020. Now, the reason why people early doors latched onto him was because they mistrusted Ali and Leslie, and including Hunter. And I think Ali's dislike for Candice has marred any testimony that she's got that might be truthful. Quite frankly, I don't believe what Ali says. I believe a large proportion of what Hunter says. Not everything. I think he's embellished. Hunter's dad said that Hunter wasn't telling the truth when he spoke to Chris McDonough. But we've only got Hunter's dad's word for that. Hunter might have been telling the truth. At least some of the truth. Some of the time. But I'm more inclined to believe Hunter because I think he's genuinely concerned about Summer than Ali, whose hatred for Candice I think is marring anything that she says to anybody, in my opinion. But because Jose is kind of loosely connected with this situation and with these people, then he was looked at. And I looked at him, I did. However, he's come up again. And someone in my Facebook group said, Jose is now the new milk jugs conspiracy, which I think is perfect. You know, so many people have made up things about Summer on the milk jugs that now we've dropped the milk jugs, and it's now Jose is target numero uno. Hunter's dad talked about him, and Dudley has talked about him in interviews this week. So Hunter's dad, Andrew, was on Jays for Justice. He called in. I wasn't watching it. I've only seen the call. I haven't seen kind of the back context of it. But apparently he called in after Jay was doing a live on Jose and said that he believes that she was talking about the wrong Jose. And I believe that too. A lot of people have followed breadcrumbs, and it's led them down rabbit holes that unintentionally are not true, because there's so many Jose Romans in the United States, so many. And it's easy to, look at mug shots of people who've been arrested in that name and say, that could be him, because we haven't got a clear picture of him, you see. But I believe Hunter's dad was telling the truth when he said he believed that what Jay was talking about was not the right Jose, because all the talk about him being in prison, all the talk about him being I don't know, what? Wow. All the talk about him being in prison, all the talk about him being, I don't know, child abductor or whatever people are saying, I believe isn't true, because you're looking at a conglomeration of Jose's that aren't the right one. Now, Hunter's dad said that the real Jose is actually in the Philippines, that he was working in Alaska, he met a woman who was from the Philippines, and he has gone to live in the Philippines. People have questioned that because of the COVID restrictions, that you can't get into the Philippines. But if you're a resident of the Philippines already, can you? I think you can. I think you can go home. And if Jose is married to somebody who is a resident of the Philippines, then he could get in as well. I'm assuming, right? I'm assuming that. But Hunter's dad might be completely lying, and I acknowledge that. He might be totally lying. But I can't provide any evidence that all of these different Jose's are the real one. So the fact that Jose's in the Philippines kind of makes sense. And that's why people can't find him, because a lot of people have tried. But it might just be because there's so many of them out there. And if he doesn't have a criminal past, then you're not going to be able to find criminal records and mugshots to compare with the bad photographs that we've got already of this dude. Isn't that logical? Now, Dudley has thrown a spanner in the works. Now, Dudley, quick reminder, is the guy who worked with Don, who Don fired the day before Summer went missing, the 14th of June. And Don, on numerous occasions, blamed Dudley for Summer's disappearance because he was revengeful and he'd been looking at Summer funny and blah, blah, blah. So Dudley's done a couple of interviews now, and I believe him. I do believe him when he says he's nothing to do with the situation. I've never believed that Dudley was responsible. However, in the interviews that he's done, he has muddied the waters. Maybe it's his lack of knowledge. I'm not saying he's intentionally lying. I don't think he is. I think it's just his lack of knowledge. And you know how Don likes to ramble. And I think Dudley's mistaken when he says that Jose got out of prison and was staying at the Wells. I think he was staying in Grandma's camper up to a few days before Summer got gone. No, he wasn't. He wasn't there. No one else has mentioned that there was anybody else living at the Wells property. So what was he doing? Was he living there in secret? Was he hiding out? No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think Dudley's mistaken. I think in all of Don's ramblings that he's probably had to listen to while they were working, Dudley's got the story wrong. Jose was there and all the trouble happened in October 2020. We've got police report to prove that. And Jose left in October 2020. So, in summary, I think Dudley's mistaken. I think Hunter's dad saying that Jose is in the Philippines, well, yeah, could be true. But regardless of the absolute location, current location of Jose, it's my belief that he was not involved in Summer's disappearance. Because to develop such a theory, you have to put together a complicated chain of events. Because, you know, if you believe that Jose came back for Summer after several months, as was originally believed, you've got to ask yourself why. Why would somebody come all the way down to Tennessee from New York to steal a kid? You know, there's plenty of other 5-year-olds who they could steal much more easily with much less risk that you have no connection to whatsoever. So just basic logic, it doesn't make sense to me. There's been this renewed fervour because now people are saying that Jose was living with Grandma, and no, we've no evidence that that was the case, none whatsoever. Dudley's mistaken. Let's draw a line under that one. Now, if Jose was involved in some kind of, I don't know, trafficking ring that was going on between Tennessee and New York, yeah. If Don and Candice were involved, yeah, that's, I guess, possible, but there's no evidence. There's no evidence that Jose was even in the picture in any way, shape or form. So, although I can't rule him out, I can't rule anybody out. I can't rule anybody out. And neither can you. But neither can you rule anybody in either. Because we're all just theorising. But I think what you've got to try to do, as I've said numerous times, if you've got a theory in your head and you're, you know, gung-ho ready to go to blast people who don't believe your theory, you've also got to think of all the reasons why it's not that. To refute your hypothesis, to explain the situation in a different way. And I think there's more ways in which we can explain Summer's disappearance that are more logical, much more probable. You know, I always go back to Occam's razor. And we can't rule out any of those more probable outcomes. And if you can't rule out the most probable outcomes, then ruling in and believing something that is highly improbable is a really bad move, in my opinion. You've got to try to rule out all the most probable, the simplest explanations first, before you even contemplate the more convoluted, complex explanations. So we're not up to the point of ruling in the most improbable as of yet, because we haven't ruled out the most probable. It's much more likely that if Summer was abducted, if she was abducted off the property, you know, as she wandered a little way off the property, or even if she was on the property technically, but she was down the hill. That's much more likely, as I said before, than somebody actually coming up onto the property. But who that person is much more likely to have regular contact with the Wells, who knew that property, who knew Summer, much more likely than somebody hightailing it from New York. No, come on now. I know that a lot of people won't agree with me, I know that a lot of people are now really looking at Jose. I just can't. I just can't. I think you've got to try to rule out the probable before you can rule in the practically impossible. Okay, and that's all I've got for you today. So I'll bid you farewell. I've been Michelle. I hope you're doing well. I'll see you in the next video. And it's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.